Hello, and welcome back to 950 Club Anime Podcast. Today, we are finishing up our end of the year special, so we're going to include our top 10 best of the year in anime. So, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Now we're in the home run stretch of these categories, and we have to give some honorable mentions because from here on out, we're going to give like our favorites top categories from best comedy to best romance. So these particular animes are right in the middle. Like we like them enough, but they just haven't reached that gold status.
Well, these are shows that I thought were really well done, really well produced, that I watched portions of, but that I didn't get to finish,
Yeah.
but that I think that you should still check out, even though Jack and I weren't able to complete them.
Yep.
Of course, Fena Private Princess, I thought was amazing. The artwork, the story, I think it's something that was worth not only me and Jack finishing, but that for you to check out.
Mm-hmm.
There was also the case study of Vanitas
Mm-hmm.
that I thought was a really well done gothic adventure with vampires. I watched a few episodes. I liked it. I didn't get a chance to go back, but I think that not only should Jack and I finish it, but you guys should check that one out too.
Mm-hmm.
There's 86,
Yes.
which I thought was really cool.
And that one's picking up with manga too.
Yeah, that one is the social implications. That one focuses a lot on the social implications of war,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's something worth checking. Not only checking out, but I think the between the artwork and the action and the story, it's a good one. Then there was Tokyo Revengers,
Mm.
which got a little too dark for me at the moment because I'm like, fair warning, there is a suicide in that show that I found a little bit disturbing because it's 2020 and I was like not ready for that.
Yeah,
But the show is amazing. The show is amazing. The time travel aspect, the angst, his journey and trying to save his friend's life, I think were really cool. So check that one out. Then there's Wonder Egg Priority for art direction. That one almost won out over Fena Private Princess and Mushkou Tensei because that is a beautiful
yeah.
show
Yeah,
with
yeah.
amazing colors. I had heard that the fan base was a little upset by the ending.
Mm.
I haven't gotten there to find out, but I think that one's worth watching just for the amazing visuals alone. Then there's Sunny Boy, which was very strange. I wasn't sure what was going on with that one. I didn't get to the point where I knew that it had something to do with them being tested by their teachers
Mm.
in this dimension that they get transported to. I like that how they play around where this dimension has rules that they're trying to find out, and they're almost like space travelers,
Okay.
but in this dimensional world where their thoughts and feelings and actions have consequences within the world, physical consequences.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. And then there was Remake Our Life,
Ah.
which also plays with time travel,
Yeah.
and I think could have been a movie in and of itself. I know that there's a twist that happens halfway through the season. I'm not sure why because I didn't get there, but I thought it was very well done. The art was very well done. It's an amazing slice of life that asks the question of if I could do this over again, what would I do differently?
Yeah.
And so it gives him a different life, but I think it also tries to show the consequences of messing around with time that way. So that sounded really cool too.
Yeah.
So these are all ones that we should like finish at some point and that you should check out.
Ones that are like continuing on with their second seasons. ReZero,
Yeah.
that technically was winter, this past winter, the second season. I liked it. I prefer the first season because first season's more batshit crazy.
You know how I feel about ReZero. I'm
Yes,
like,
yes,
that
yes.
is just,
That one I feel like we should do an episode
there's an
on.
expression in fiction that says kill your babies, kill your darlings,
mm,
where it's like, don't be nice to your characters.
ah,
That show takes that expression to the absolute like maximum,
yes,
to the point where it's like, all this is like, this show's just designed to torture him.
yes, yes.
And I get the idea that it's like, all right, he's going to transform. He's going to transcend. He's going to become, by all this suffering and pain,
Like the ultimate hero.
yeah, he's going to become the hero that he needs to be to save Amelia. And I'm like, no, no. I don't hate it the way you hate SAO. I actually like ReZero a lot.
Yeah.
But man, it's hard to watch.
Yeah. No, but that's what I mean with the second season because there's a weird.
Well, I know it's good because I know they introduced some characters that people are really excited about.
Well, the heartbreak is still there, but it's something unsettling how they finish it out, even more so than how they done it before. I'll leave it at that.
It's an unsettling show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a horror anime.
It's there
per se, but it's pretty close to like.
It reminds me a lot of Neon Genesis.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
There's some disturbing aspects to like what these people are willing to do, like in the father in Neon Genesis.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you willing to do to these children? It's like, oh my god.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that one and how Realist Hero rebuilt the kingdom. I love it. It definitely would have been a top 10 any other year. It just didn't make that cut. And it's still kind of like that. I wouldn't say it's like the lowest produced one or at least exposed one, but it's an interesting one where it's like a traditional anime, as it were.
Yeah.
Or definitely a traditional isekai. But it's one of those things where watch it, trust me on it, but at your own pace.
Yeah, that was one of my recommendations.
Yes, which I watched
for isekai.
because of Edwin.
hey. I'm glad you checked that one out. Yeah, it's pretty standard for an isekai. I mean, the reason I like that one was because it shied away from the kind of generic aspects that isekai has picked up within the last few years.
I can see that,
yeah. Yeah, it went in a different direction. The character's still OP, but he's OP in a different way.
Yeah.
And I thought they did some interesting things to try to entertain you, like the little cooking show episode. I thought was really well done.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. That was a fun addition. His talent search episode, his magical ability to project himself into that that adventure that looks like a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
And then one of the characters falls in love with a stuffed animal. I thought that was hilarious.
Aw.
So they did some things that were different. I mean, it still has those harem aspects to it, and I think that sometimes those overshadow what's going on, and I think to its detriment.
Yeah.
But I think overall that was fun to watch.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, from here on out, we're going to talk about the best of the best, like the most elite.
Oh man.
And this has been tough.
It's very hard.
And we both had different rules for our top tens, as it were, and our best categories. For my best categories, like for best romance, for best drama, for best adventure, these are ones that didn't make my top 10. But I have to mention them because they're excellent. And like they would be top 10s anywhere else, and they would be like in its own list on number 1. These are great animes.
Well, because I think this year had some really phenomenal anime that
game changers
that what we weren't expecting.
Yeah.
I'm like, some of them came out of left. Some of them I expected to be on my top 10.
Yeah.
But some of them came out of left field and like kind of like stole my imagination.
Yeah.
And stole my heart, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, okay. Are you my new favorite anime? Are you my new favorite anime? I can't decide.
Yeah, it's from here on out. It's like the good son. Like we have to hold on.
Yeah, it was not easy. I mean, some of these lists, like best comedy, best slice of life, best isekai, best romance.
Yeah,
that was hard.
Yeah, very.
Because you had a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. So we'll start off with the latest one. We'll do best romance.
All right.
If I had to choose, it would be Horimiya.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. For me too. I think the show did an amazing job of translating the manga,
Yeah.
of translating the romance. There was a few missteps, but I didn't see how else they could do it. I think it was the pacing.
Yeah.
They're like, this is our chance. A studio's picked us up. We're going to do this all in one go.
Mm.
And I that kind of made me sad because I think this could have been 2 seasons because there's a lot of stuff that they left out.
It should have been 2 seasons.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
There, the story itself of those two, there's some questionable stuff,
Wow.
but I thought that it was adorable because it's a romance, but you have a lot of humor.
Yeah.
You have slice of life, definitely.
More, and it's kind of like a drama too. Like
You have that teen angst where, like I compared it to a lot of like the Breakfast Club.
even like teenage dramas like Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, well,
well, Jack, what?
no, Jack, no, but yeah, it's there. I mean, you have the soundtrack, the opening and closing were amazing. They get into the relationship. Morimiya, they talk about his past.
Yeah.
They talk about how he suffered, how he's been alone, and how he has tried to break out of that, and how part of that became kind of like his teen rebellion. I like that they did all that they covered all that, and that you're not really concerned about will they get together or won't they get together,
Yeah.
because you get the idea that these two are kind of like in love with each other right off the bat. As much as Morimiya tries to squirm out of it because of his own insecurities, where he's like, no, she can't possibly love me.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of sad and tragic too. And I thought that was something that we don't normally get in romance anime.
Yeah.
It's like, will they, won't they? But this one focuses on the relationship, not only the two of them, the two of the main characters, but the supporting characters too. And they do it in such a bittersweet way that I think if you don't find this, if you don't find it well done, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, because it captures that heartbreak of being a teenager,
Yeah.
where you're in love with somebody and they're just not returning it because they're in love with somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's the number one for romance. And there's a few others out there that should, like, there are romance and they're good. It's
There
just,
were so many good
yeah,
ones.
yeah. But that was our number one. Then next for best drama, overall drama, I had to choose the Heike story. It's not in my top 10. Didn't finish there. But man, if only it could be like a movie or something, I feel like that would have been taken in better and maybe a little bit better with budget too if they had a little bit more. But overall, what they did was phenomenal. And I'm glad that I mentioned in our fall catch up because it's one of those ones where I feel like in 10 years from now, people really, point to like, this is a great anime.
Yeah, a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I didn't really have a best drama
Oh, but
because so many other things went into other categories.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So we'll talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
This was really hard for me because I have become a fan of Isekai.
Oh, yes.
And only because some of it's really, really good. Some of it's just fun. Some of it's quirky. Some of it's comfy.
In this past 2 years alone have been a case study. I will admit that. Yeah.
But like, oh my god, I, I don't really know how to do this. I don't know how to break the isekai down to. I mean, yeah, I could say that Mushkou Tensei is probably the number one isekai of the year. Easily, just from its production value, its story, its music, everything. I could easily say that. But there was a lot of isekai that I just kind of fell in love with.
Yeah.
This year, I mean, how do you not mention My Next Life as a Villainess, season 2?
I know.
Or that time I got reincarnated as a slime, season 2.
Oh, yeah.
Both of those were phenomenal. Restaurant to Another World, season 2.
Realist Hero.
The Realist Hero. The Saints' Magic Powers Omnipotent.
Yes. I have to finish that one.
That was amazing. The Faraway Paladin.
That was my number one.
I'm like, just look at that list.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
Yeah.
Paladin barely made the cusp, and I felt like it needed to be emphasized as isekai. So
Well,
I put
because
it
it
there.
came so late in the season, and some people had said that the focus isn't on the isekai aspect, but I think that they're wrong.
Yeah,
So the goddess that he ends up worshiping is actually the goddess that keeps the balance between the worlds.
yeah,
And his battle is with the Lord of Stagnation, who wants everyone to live forever. But the problem with that is that the show itself shows you that his goddess, the goddess that he's chosen to be his grace field, she's the one who takes you from, she takes your soul and leads it to another world so that you can inhabit that world. So if there's no balance, there's no souls.
okay,
And so
yeah,
are there children being born? Are people, when people are dying, what's happening to
yeah,
them?
yeah,
Where they're getting stuck. And so the show itself is like, no, this is isekai. This
yeah.
is like,
Well, isekai really feels like in a weird way because, like I mentioned with the teachers aspect of the show, that's where you learn how to
well,
how to be in this world.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's also like aristocrat in another world,
Yes, yes.
which we talked about that one, which I got more into. And the aspect of that I really like is the goddess who is trying to essentially save that world by bringing souls from another world. And that plays throughout the entire show,
Yeah.
where you're seeing these souls because she's trying to save this world. So I think these shows work more as isekais because you can't forget that part
Yeah.
because it is part of the DNA of the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd have to say happily, but with qualifications, that Mushko Tensei is the number one isekai of the year.
Yes, yes.
But there's enough for, I think, every taste. I know there's some questionable material, but if there's a bunch like Faraway
Yeah,
Paladin,
alternative options. If you
yeah, I got reincarnated as the slime season 2. The Saint's magic power is omnipotent. There are shows out there for everybody,
yeah.
whether it's slice of life or humor or romance.
Dare I say is the best category of the year, the strongest for sure.
I know for me, because there's such a focus on isekai, and I know a lot of people begroan that and they're like, oh no, not another one.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially this year and especially this season, they've upped their game with it,
Hmm.
and I think because they understand they want to turn it into a quality genre that
Yeah.
people go to be entertained.
Not just sword art online.
Right. Just like the way slice of life was at one point,
Yes, yes.
and the way
Comedy.
that, sci-fi was at one
Yeah.
point.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
So,
agree. Each year is definitely a focus. I would agree with that. And speaking of isekai, I would have to mention my favorite adventure of the season, and that would be Ranking of Kings. Didn't make my top 10. To be honest, it's probably one of the best shows, easily, hands down, if you're putting a tooth and nail, like if I'm being really critical. But overall, it hasn't resonated with me just yet. Something about the story being too fantasy like and too adventurous like. I'm like, okay, that's definitely, you know, it doesn't relate to me personally, kind of thing.
yeah.
Compared to Lord of the Rings, ironically enough, because Lord of the Rings I adore. Like it's forever top 10. But at the same time, this little cute and simple fairy tale is dark and it throws you off for a loop each and every episode. And there's something about it. I'm like, okay, like how we mentioned about game changers. This one definitely for sure, plot wise, story wise, game changer.
Well, I think it's one of those shows where every facet of it is interesting.
Yeah,
On your recommendation, I watched the first 2 episodes,
yeah,
and I felt that each character was not only different in the way that they spoke or acted, but in the design too.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's very not only fantasy, but I think very fairy tale
yeah,
like the size of his father, the odd look of his sidekick, the nature of the captain of the guard who has this army of snakes at his
yeah,
disposal.
yeah.
I thought that was really interesting and weird. There's nothing about that show that wants to be. How do I put this? that show's looking to be different
Yeah,
in every aspect of itself.
very much so.
It's not like resting on its laurels. It's not like, oh, you've seen this in 100 different anime. It's like we're gonna give you something different, and it gives you kind of like that fairy tale aspect to it, like just the size of the king. You're like, the king's a giant.
Yeah,
He has this short little rotund kind of like cartoonish son, and he's got like this more normal looking one, and you're like, but this dude's a giant. What happened?
you have to find out along the way and how
And
they
that
place
that's
it.
what it is.
Yeah,
It feels like a journey through a fairy tale world,
yeah,
and I think that's it's really well done. Um, I'm gonna watch the rest of
yeah.
it.
Please do, because you'll see why those questions you asked, they will be answered. I'll
Oh,
assure you of that. So.
cool.
Yeah. And then will be or for my next category, my final one would be best comedy. And there was a lot of good ones. Quintessential Quintuplets is hysterical, but that didn't make my top 10. Miss Kobayashi's technically the funniest one. But even like Demon Slayer has some hysterical moments. Even in the movie, it's a lot of great funny moments. But my number one would be Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
That was really
It's not
good.
the funniest one, but it's tongue in cheek. Definitely the most pervy of my choices this year, too. I get it. But at the same time, that's the whole humor. And if you like that type of humor, go ahead.
For me, it was a tie
Yeah.
for best comedy between The Vampire Dies in No
Which
Time.
is great. That one, too.
There were moments where I'm like, I groaned. I'm like, oh no. But every episode starts out like, okay, why am I watching this? And then by the end of it, I'm cracking up.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that's why I'm watching this.
Oh,
And then John
yeah.
the Armadillo became like the mascot of the year.
Oh,
It's like, it's John.
yeah.
It's like, we worship John.
Aw.
All praise Lord John. And I don't know how that happened, but it did, and it was amazing.
Yep.
There's a lot of lewd jokes in that show,
Here and there.
so you kind of have to be careful.
Compared to Miss Nagatoro, even Quintessential and Kobayashi, yeah,
It's anime.
it's anime.
We get it. The Vampire Dies in No Time. It's a little bit more adult than I think some
I
of
would
the
agree.
some of the other ones.
Yeah,
Some of those jokes don't always land. It's a different culture,
yeah.
so some of the jokes don't always land, but most of it is hilarious, situational comedy. And then the other one, it is tied with The Dragon Goes House Hunting.
Oh, okay. Good under the radar one. I've been meaning to watch that one.
Yeah, it tells the story of a dragon who gets kicked out of his cave by his parents for for letting one of the eggs get captured. And the whole show is his quest to find a new home, and it's hilarious. The adventures that he goes on, the demon lord slash real estate agent that he meets. It's hilarious.
Oh man.
It was really funny. There's moments where the Dark Lord, you see his interactions, you see why he wants to go on this adventure with this dragon,
Yeah.
and that's hilarious too. One of my favorite lines is when the dragon has destroyed the Adventure Guild, and he tells them later, nerds. It's just, I'm like, what is that doing in a fantasy world? It was just, yeah, it was cute and charming and hilarious at times, and it's a riff on the way Restaurant to Another World riffs on fantasy and food. This show takes real estate hunting, house hunting, and fantasy to another level, and I thought it definitely has some great laughs.
Yeah, and great mention. Yeah, that one definitely is overlooked in my book. And
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Vampire Dies in No Time too. That one's definitely overlooked. So people, if you're listening, if you want a good laugh, check those out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Okay, there wasn't a lot of sci-fi this year. I did watch Star Wars Visions, but I think that at some point we might just do an entire podcast about that.
Yeah, rightfully so.
And I started to watch Blade Runner Black Lotus.
That one as well.
But I'm not going to list that as one of my tops because I only watched the first episode. The award would go to Vivy. That show kind of reminded me of Ghost in the Shell
Mm-hmm.
at moments. It also reminded me of Psychopaths and it reminded me of It Invaded. If you've seen that one,
Yeah.
those are three of my favorites.
Futuristic, like super
Yeah.
futuristic. I like that.
And this show is about an android, Vivy, who is contacted. Um, Essentially, a scientist from the future sends back a program to interact with her because she still exists in the future.
Mm.
And this isn't a spoiler because this all happens in the first episode.
Yeah, it's kind of weird first episode.
She's tasked with saving the human race from an android, rebellion
Yeah.
by an artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence decides that the only way for them to be perfect is for them to exterminate humanity.
Mm.
And so it's Vivi's quest throughout the show to save humanity from this fate. And as the show progresses, you get these different stories that explore the world that she exists in. And I thought it's really well done. You see the relationship not only between humans and androids, you see the relationship between androids, and you see the different facets of this world. And it's amazingly done. The artwork's well done, the action is well done, the story, the acting. If you like sci-fi, check this one out. There wasn't a lot of sci-fi that I watched this season or even this year,
Yeah.
but for me, Vivy was one of the top ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for our final category, we're going to be talking about slice of life.
Slice of life.
And
That's
slice
right.
of life definitely most dynamic. It bounces with romance and comedy, but these ones are more definitely of that ilk, and they fit the mold perfectly. And
Well, it's hard for me. I don't
yeah,
know about you, Jack,
yeah,
but it was hard for me because I had a lot of shows that even Horimiya and bottom tier character Tomazaki, which I kind of put in my romance category,
yeah.
but kind of felt like it was more of a slice of life.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard to decide because we also had like two of our favorites that we actually did an entire episode on,
They're
Super Cub and Laid Back Camp.
yeah,
They fall into that slice of life
and
category.
both are in my top 10. Yeah,
Right. So it's like how do you separate that out and decide on one? Because you even have Komi,
mm-hmm.
you have My Senpai is Annoying
Yep.
that fall into that category. Even Dragon Maid season 2.
Technically is one, even
Yeah.
though there's action and comedy thrown in there.
And romance.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Oh yeah. And if I had to choose that one, I like to highlight this one because this one's an interesting one. The plot, of course, is definitely like, okay. It's called After Being Rejected, I shaved and rescued a high school runaway. Long title. Longest title I've had this year.
Which could have fit into the romance titles as well.
Easily. That one's super slice of life, though, I would say.
It has some questionable content. But I think overall, it's about two people who find themselves at a crossroad in their lives.
Yeah.
He's been dumped. He's not taking care of himself. You can tell that the trajectory of his life, he's gonna end up dead.
Yeah.
He's gonna overwork himself and end up dead. And she's not going down a great path either.
No, kind of questionable and sad.
Yeah. Well, if they hadn't met each other, I could honestly see them both ending up dead.
Yeah.
Him being an overworked middle-aged man, and her being used by somebody for much darker purposes.
Yes.
A lot of people try to say that this is like an inappropriate, and I think at times it can be, but at the same time, I think this is really just a show about two people who found each other, like I said, at a crossroads in their lives,
Yeah.
helped each other find themselves
Yeah.
again. She helped him find kind of like his self-respect,
Yeah.
and he helped her find family
that,
and reconcile with her
yeah,
family.
That and like getting back in the the beaten path. Like, yeah, you kind of need to do this to have a normal life. You don't need to go down this road at all.
Yeah, that could also fit into drama.
And well, what I like about it, like why I highlight it as slice of life, because slice of life at the end of the day is all about characters and how they focus on the characters and what they do. They might be like folding sheets to cooking dinner. This is what people do every day of their lives, and rarely you get that viewpoint in any other medium. Modern day movies, in America. There's something about just being like, okay, I'm with these characters, and they're in this weird situation. This guy randomly saves this poor girl in the middle of nowhere, middle of the street. You don't see that every day, but you see along the way how he handles it with uttermost respect. And there's questionable themes thrown in there because there is that question mark. And yeah, reality bites you in the butt sometimes because you don't do that. But at the same time, this is how it's handled. And yeah, this is just a story at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it would have to be Super Cub.
Okay.
It would have to be Super Cub because it takes the time to like show her daily routine, like her preparing breakfast, her preparing her lunch for the day, and then it also the focus isn't on anything extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's such a relatable story in that she's a teenager who is kind of lost,
Yeah.
and she buys this motorcycle, and it kind of transforms her life because it opens up the entire world to her.
Yeah.
It brings friends in. It brings kind of like a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, this sense of independence that I found really relatable.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of being a teenager and my everyday life. And, like trying to save money to buy a car and then being able to go to the movies or the store whenever you wanted to and to plan longer trips. And it has this everyday, almost mundane quality to it, but it makes it so the anime itself, the music,
Yeah.
the sounds
They're
in
very
that show,
resonant. Yep. Yep.
it's like wow, it's like they spent their time going around recording all of these sounds for the town. The town is almost a character, and it's just about discovering who you are. And yeah, at times the whole Super Cup thing
The
gets
plugins.
gets gets a little bit hard to handle.
Yeah.
But overall, I think this is a beautiful, wonderful story about these girls coming of age and discovering who they are and their independence. It's kind of like they're claiming their independence and their lives through these motorcycles.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking our first break. Coming up, Edwin's going to have his winter preview. And also, the reason why you're tuning in, the 950 Club's top 10 anime of the year. Check it out.
And I'd like to add a short section about 2022
Ah.
because I've been looking at what's coming up. All right, so this is a short section of some stuff that I am looking forward to next season. I don't know too many details about these, but I am excited for them. My Dress Up Darling,
Okay.
which is a pretty popular manga series. I've watched the trailer and I'm interested in watching this one. It looks pretty cool. It's about a guy who feels he's an outcast because he loves sewing,
Oh, wow.
he loves dolls, and he loves making outfits for them. And he runs into the popular girl at school who has a secret.
Ooh.
She's a cosplayer.
Oh.
And so they become friends in that he knows how to sew and she wants his help on making the different costumes that she wears. So this looks like it's going to be a cool one.
All right.
Yep. I'm also excited for I we haven't talked about this one because it came out I believe in 2020.
Okay.
Uh it's based on a game series. It's called Princess Connect Redive.
Oh,
So it's a popular mobile game. It was one of those shows where I watched the first season, kind of like for like I was like, whatever, I'll watch this. It looks kind of entertaining, and I ended up really, really liking the show.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was funny. It had these funny moments, and they form a guild, which is my kind of guild because their guild is essentially the culinary guild.
Oh.
Yeah, they're looking. So the reason for the existence of their guild is to go out and find ingredients that would make food taste better.
Okay.
So it's like I want to do that, and in a fantasy world, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And the main character keeps getting eaten.
Okay.
They have to keep rescuing him
Okay.
from fantasy animals that are trying to eat him. It's hilarious.
It's like a reverse restaurant to another world.
Yeah, it's a cutesy fantasy.
Okay.
There's a cat girl. There's a little fairy girl. It's real cute, but I was surprised by how funny it was.
Okay.
Not the characters themselves aren't that deep, but their relationship is.
Okay.
And I thought that was very very well done. I was kind of surprised. This was not a show that I expected to like.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited that there's a second season. One of the characters, Pecorine, was actually one of my wallet slayers.
Oh yeah.
Because they're
remember.
doing a Figma figure that's like $100.
Yes.
That I'm really tempted to get, but I'm like, I can't. How do I justify spending this on a figure? For Motoko, that was no problem. For this show, I'm just like, I might do this.
For
This might
Nobra,
happen.
yo. I spent my good money on Nobra.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Another one for next season is Rust Eater Bisco,
Oh.
which looks kind of cool.
Okay.
And it's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi show in which mushrooms have let out these spores that cause everything to rust. And Bisco is on a quest to find the mushroom that will stop this and save the world. So the trailer looked pretty cool. I'm interested in watching this out because, like I said, the trailer looked cool, the artwork looked cool. I don't know too much about the story beyond that.
Yeah.
But that looked pretty cool. There's one called Tokyo 24.
Yes.
Which looks pretty cool.
I think I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for this. It looks pretty cool. It's about these guys who are pretty much left on their own devices in their Tokyo in their district. And so they kind of have to save it from like the crime and everything that's going on there.
Okay.
So that looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Vanitas is getting a second season.
Yes.
There's a Fruits Basket prelude
Ew.
for everybody who enjoyed.
Yeah, Fruits Basket was like 2020, 2021 range too.
Yeah, it got really popular again. The reboot, they did a reboot.
Yes.
With the artwork was improved.
I think it won best anime of the year, or no, best romance, but one of those for Crunchyroll's awards. So,
yeah, it was really popular.
Yeah.
Really, really popular. There's a few isekai that I don't know. I might check out. There's a fantasy one called Requiem of the Rose King that looks pretty cool. That's not an isekai though. There's one where I couldn't really find the name for it. It's called Real Estate RPG.
Oh wow!
Which kind of reminded me of Dragon Ghost House Hunting. So I'm excited for that. And that's it. That's it. Those are the ones that I'm gonna be checking out. I'm sure there'll be more.
Yeah, Call Nights next year.
Next year is gonna be
insane.
It's another stacked year. I mean, there's some manga that is getting produced, like you said, Call of Night that I'm excited about.
Chainsaw Man, Spy X Family.
Yeah. All of those are coming next year, so it looks like it's gonna be another great year for anime, Jack. I'm excited.
Alrighty. And now, the 950 Club's Top 10 Anime of the Year.
This was not easy. There was a lot of anime that I watched and was not in love with this year, but then there was a lot of anime that I watched and I was.
There's animes where I thought it was good enough, like, yeah, this is great. But like I said, the game changers throw you off.
Well, because there were shows where it's like they kind of like pushed everybody out.
Yeah.
Like Other Side Picnic was a really cool horror anime,
Okay.
but Mieruko-chan, like all these other shows, kind of blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
Where like I was going through my list, I'm like, oh yeah, Other Side Picnic. I remember that one. I liked that one. I watched the whole thing, and it was really cool. I mean, it wasn't like one of my favorite animes of the year, but it was a solid anime that I think that people should watch.
Yeah.
But it didn't even show up on anywhere on these lists. That Starter Town Kid one that I read the manga for, and then like I liked the anime. Uh, there was a bunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like I watched almost 100 anime this year, and it's like there's just stuff where it's like it was good,
Yeah.
like Sakugan.
Yep. Yep.
It was good. It didn't rise to the level of these shows, and it's like I feel bad because it's like these are shows that you should watch. It's just like,
Yep.
good luck
Good luck.
with all the anime out there. Good luck, my friend.
I know.
I'm glad that we were able to bring it to people's attention.
Yeah. No, and that's the whole point. So with that said, this is our top 10 of the year. And my golly, by golly, by golly, by golly, this was hard. Like Edwin, before we recorded, like had to make sure what his top 10 was. He was scribbling and scribbling. I had to do like 5 or 6 different revisions myself. So without further ado, how we're going to set this up is that the first 5 are just going to be shotgunned, and we're just going to list them. And then we're going to go back and forth with our 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. So without further ado, here we go. For my number 10, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Season 2. Number 9, Duke of Death. Number 8, My Next Life as a Villainess Season 2. Number 7, Odd Taxi. And number 6, My Senpai is Annoying.
All right, so here we go. My number 10 is Mieruko-chan. My number 9 is That Time Got Reincarnated as a Slime Season 2. My number 8 is Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Season 2. My number 7 was Laidbackcamp Season 2. And my number 6 was Super Cub.
Okay. And I'm surprised you put The Time We Got Reincarnated as a Slime Season 2 as number 9. Wow.
It, like I said, it got pushed out by other shows.
Yeah.
I mean, there were just shows where if you had asked me at the beginning of the year, I would have said nobody's going to beat Slime. I was like, they're not going to do it. This show just keeps getting better and better. Rimuru owns it.
Yep.
But, man, that's what happens in anime.
And all these are great. And like we mentioned, like each one could be interchangeable. And it's like the good son. You want them pull them all up from that cliff. Don't fall down.
You're like, no, you want to hug them all
Yeah.
and keep them close
Yeah.
and watch them over and over.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So with that said, here are our top 5. My number 5, Laid Back Camp Season 2.
Nice choice, Jack. I love that show.
Yeah.
It was so comfy, and it came at a time where I needed that comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And-
needed to relax and unwind and sit there with it.
And it still bemuses me that I still haven't checked it out until you mentioned it. And this is a Jack Anime 101. You got nature, you got great art, you got great characters. Huh.
Yeah, it's a solid show, man.
Yeah.
For my number 5, it's My Senpai is Annoying.
Aw.
Like I said, I talked about the manga. It was adorable then. The anime manages to capture that. Not only is it cute, but it's entertaining too. It's just so charming, and you
Yeah.
get into these people's lives, and it's not heavy on the plot, but it's funny, it's entertaining, and it just, I don't know. That's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. I know. Let's take it back. Then for my number 4, which this might be a shocker for the listener and for Edwin, my number 4, Komi Can't Communicate.
All right. Well, Jack, that's my number 4 too.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Hi, that's a first.
Yeah. For both of us, I mean, there were just shows I thought going into this that Komi would be higher on the list.
Yeah.
What we talked about this earlier in the podcast, in today's podcast, is that the anime is kind of like play-by-play of the manga,
Yeah.
which is appreciated and respected because a lot of shows will vary from that. But at the same time, it's like reading that first volume where it's like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
You have your favorite moments and they build. So it's a totality of the manga
Yeah.
where the anime is doing everything right. It's just going to take its time to get to the point where we are with the manga.
Yeah.
And I am kind of like jealous of the people who haven't read the manga because
Yeah.
they're going into this fresh.
Yeah.
But I'm also happy that I'm getting able to see those moments come to life. Like Namji was almost my best supporting character because they, I think is the right pronoun.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
They are kind of like the catalyst for the things that are going on. They're trouble.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens.
And that's a strong focus with the anime too, because Najimi in the manga, at least like for me, I thought it was like kind of like the background character because Komi's just counting numbers with the friendships. But no, in the anime, they emphasize with the acting, they emphasize with how it's directed and everything. Like there you go. Sometimes some people can view it better than
well, it gets lost with the manga. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there are so many other characters.
Yeah, it's stimulating.
But the anime manages to focus on they very well.
Okay, I would agree. Now for my number 3, which is better than Komi, mind you. And I voted her for best girls, Mieruko-chan. So that's gonna be a battle from here on out.
I wasn't ready for Mieruko-chan. I'm
Nobody
not a big fan.
Nobody was.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of horror anime to begin with.
Yeah.
But this show kind of caught me off guard.
Yep.
In that it's funny.
Yeah.
It's a slice of life, but it's not only just played for scares.
Yeah.
There's something else going on in this show that kind of reminds me of watching Indiana Jones.
Oh, okay.
So you're sitting there and you're watching this, 1920s adventure movie about Egyptology and stuff. And then all of a sudden you're watching like this supernatural movie that has like this otherworldly aspect to it.
Religious.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this religious kind of like the power of God is upon you. You're just like blown away like when they open the Ark of the Covenant and you're just like,
whoa.
What? Whoa.
Yeah.
As a kid, you're like, this is awesome. As an adult, you're like, what just happened? Like, where did we go with this? Like, they spend the movie setting it up.
Yeah, and Mieruko is similar.
Yeah. But Mieruko, it's similar because it's like you think you're watching this and you're like, oh, this is just a horror anime
with cheap thrills,
with ghouls and ghosts. But then there's an underlying the episode with her dad. I think especially this isn't just about the horror aspect of the supernatural world. These people who have passed on. They're not only there to possess and to terrify us. There's a larger story at work and there's a larger thing going on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared for that from a show that I thought was just going to be your basic horror. It's like, oh, it's just going to be like scares and a little bit of fan service here and there, which the fan service is kind of well done,
tastefully. Like
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. It is done tastefully. It's done. The fan service comes at appropriate moments for fan service
and for the story, mainly with the scary aspects.
Yeah, well, it's a horror. Like in horror, you get like
that's like a story as old as time.
In horror, you're gonna get fan service. You're gonna get that stuff's just part of horror.
Yep, the cute couple making out before the ex-murderer kills them.
Yeah, so the locker room and bathroom scenes, it's there. The fan service is there, but it doesn't take away from the show.
Yeah.
And the show has, like I said, the introduction of those supernatural elements was really well done. And it was kind of like a WTF moment for me where I'm like, what is this show about?
Yep.
Yeah. I wanted to put Mieruko-chan higher on my list, but it just got, I got my list got sidetracked by
I know.
other people.
And
Yeah,
like I said, like it's so
other shows.
interchangeable.
Well,
But
the same thing with Komi coming in at number 4, where it was like,
it was a perfect
sorry,
place.
Komi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Comey's not officially done yet. As of this recording, it's not officially done with the first season. But at the same time, like it can only get better, and we don't think it will be deferred or replace it. So yeah,
agreed. Yeah.
yeah.
My number 3 actually was a surprise for me because I didn't think that I would be so taken with this show, and I really have been. It's the Faraway Paladin.
Oh, that's a shocker for me
Yep.
because I know like we've isekai it out here, but at the same time, like Faraway Paladin, I felt like it was like weaker for Edwin compared to like Slime. So this is like a good refreshing. Like okay,
Slime is about world building.
yeah,
It's about empire building, and it's a more traditional anime in many respects.
yeah,
And a lot of it is played for laughs, which is there's no problem with that.
yeah, yeah.
And like I said, like with a lot of these shows, if I had started out the year with these shows, I would have said no, nothing's gonna beat them. But these shows snuck up on me and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, look, here I am."
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the Faraway Paladin does that because it takes the isekai premise a little bit more seriously,
Yeah.
and it does its world building very well,
Oh yeah.
and it feels more like you're in a fantasy world than that time I got
Yeah.
reincarnated
Because
slime.
slime, you're just following around with Rimuru and all that.
Well, with Rimuru, I think it's the personalities.
Yeah.
The show is like Shion and all the other and Gabda. It's about the personalities.
Yeah.
You know, you've grown to know and love these characters, and so you're there for it. But unlike the Faraway Paladin, where you get this, where it works not only as an isekai but as a drama, it's seriousness and it's exploration of different themes that you don't get in that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Yeah.
It works on in a different way on a different level,
Okay.
and that's why it's my number 3.
All right. Perfect choice.
Yep.
So my number 2. Everyone's gonna be like, "Are you serious?" Because I'm feeling it. Mushkou Tensei. That's my number 2.
That's my number 2 as well.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Shock.
Absolutely.
Beyond shock.
Well, you're gonna be shocked by my number 1,
Oh.
but that's my number 2 as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's an amazing show.
Wow.
Like I said, it's like I've gone from Lord of the Rings to
And for me, for like modern day films.
from Game of Thrones to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, yeah.
With my appreciation of Mushkou Tensei, especially the second half of the first season. Oh man,
Yeah.
gut punch after gut punch after gut punch.
Yeah.
This show has not let up.
Nope.
And it's growing. I love the way Rudy and Eris and Rox, all the characters
Yeah.
are becoming more sophisticated, and they're going through all these experiences, and the experiences are changing them.
Yeah.
I see a dark path for
Yeah.
Rudy.
And mind you, we're recording just before episode 11. And
Yeah.
episode 11 is the season finale for the second half. Technically, the first, like, this whole thing is like the first season. And
Yeah.
it debuted this year. It's up like the whole year in clips with this anime. And, episode 10 was like the ultimate gut punch. That's like up to
Oh,
the ribs
man.
gut punch. And
Oh, well, you would think that dying would be the ultimate gut punch,
oh, yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
it's not.
And that was the previous episode.
Yeah.
Because episode 9, Rudius meets up with like the antagonist, the dragon god. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the first of the 7.
First of 7, but still,
Yeah.
he's technically, I would consider him the main baddie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Even more so than the man god, because the man god's kind of this weird shapeshifter.
Well, I equate them to like the sorcerers, the wizards in the Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
Like
yes.
there's Gandalf,
And Saruman.
Saruman, and those 7. That's what this feel like, because if you know some of the mythos of Lord of the Rings, they're actually the sorcerers like Radagast the Brown,
Wow.
So if you like, I'm not a big Lord of the Rings like aficionado. I've seen the movies, I read the book, I love it.
Yeah.
But there are people who have read like the other material, like Varian and Luthien, and the Similarian, I believe it's called. And so Gandalf is actually essentially what you would consider to be an angel
Yeah.
sent down to live. And so when Rudy meets this character, I kind of feel like that's like he's on that level where these are like supreme beings
Yeah. Yeah.
that everybody is terrified of.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so the fact that Rudy isn't, the other two just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so and then neither did the god. He's just kind of like the dragon lord. He's like, why aren't you afraid of me?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you?
What a
Yeah.
great twist. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's so eerily good, because not only does it do it, for the pacing wise, beat for beat, you're following on an adventure. It makes you really reconsider the medium.
Yeah, no, definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that this is what, well, not only anime, not it works on a level where it, I think, raises the level of quality and storytelling that you can expect from isekai,
Yeah.
but from anime as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why it's my number two, because my number one, and I'll let you do your number one first,
Okay.
because my number one is going to surprise you,
Yes.
but
Even more so because we both have the same number two and number four,
yeah.
and we adore those things.
I know. And so the way this ended up working out was that my number one and my number two were less about my favorites and more about quality and what they do, not only for, well, the way they transcend anime as the best of, and how they use it as a platform to tell the stories in a cinematic and artistic way.
Okay. Alrighty. With that said, our number ones. I'll go first because my number one, the moment I saw it, I just loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. It's Super Cup.
Uh,
Yeah. Like, if you want to impress me in your taste, if you don't mention Super Cup, like, I would be like all ears if you mention you've watched Super Cub, because it's such a rare, unique slice of life anime. Because not only is it a plug-in, we get it, we elaborated that in our episode, but something about the life lessons you endure with these characters and everything else in between, it's the perfect anime in my book. And this is where the medium's going from here on out, because this goes back to the beginning of Japanese cinema to today. And this is the transition. And it's just going to get better. I love it so much. And like we mentioned, I hope there will be a live action version. It can easily do that.
yeah.
And also, how I personally like it, I didn't expect to like it this much too, in a weird way, because compared to like after I got rejected, yeah, I picked it as a slice of life because it has all the beats you can think of. But Super Cub does it in a weird way where it's even more mundane, even more like, of
Every
this,
day,
yeah,
yeah.
of this world. And as a tragic backstory, but it's such a rare and satisfying arc at the near the end that you see these characters actually grow. Wow, just wow. I can't help but recommend that as my number one for 2021.
Well, that's why it went into my top 10, because it is like this show about the themes of the show, growing, finding your independence, figuring out who you are, expanding your world, and just the production values and how they handle a lot of the things, the sounds, the imagery, the colors of the world, and that feeling, especially like you said, toward the later arcs, that feeling where you feel suffocated by winter, and you're just dying for spring to come, and you feel like if spring doesn't come, you're gonna lose it, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And so they capture all that, and then they capture, it's like you said, it's a commercial for Super Cup, and I
it,
think as far as being a commercial, if you just take it as a commercial, it's an amazing
Yeah,
commercial.
and the melodrama's kind of there too. That gets kind of
They
overbearing.
have the melodrama, and it.
It's the main character has her flaws too.
She's
Don't
in love with that super
I
cub,
know?
and she gets to the point where she's too cool for school.
Yep, yep.
And I thought that was kind of cheesy and funny, but she is a super cub rider.
Yeah,
You can't mess with that.
yeah,
And so I can understand why. I mean, it doesn't. It's surprising that this beat out some of the other shows on your list,
yeah.
but not really because because the quality. I mean, like everything that we talked about, the themes that discussed, the quality.
Yeah,
You could the
yeah,
the love that you can tell that these people, whoever wrote the manga, and I think we've discussed this. We discussed this in the podcast that we did about it. The creator of the manga, and then the creators of the anime. You can tell that they had a love and respect for the source material, and they did an amazing job producing it. And that was one of the reasons why we spotlighted it
yeah, yeah.
and featured it on the podcast. So for my number one, and the reason I picked this as my number one is because I felt that it transcended the genre of anime and became something more akin to like a cinematic experience as a movie, and it's Odd Taxi.
Odd taxi.
Odd Taxi. It takes modern life and it turns it into it pulls it into, and the way it does it is so seamless. Like you said, the character who's addicted to mobile games, the character who is kind of obsessed with his social media
Oh yeah,
presence,
it's eerily relatable nowadays.
yeah, and
Eerily.
his rise and fall,
Yep.
and then the crime aspects. I didn't feel like I was watching an anime. I
Yeah, yeah,
felt like I was watching a movie.
yeah. And mind you, these characters presented are animals, and there's backstory was with brand new animal and even Zootopia with darker themes and stuff like that. But Odd Taxi like does it better.
It does it so much better
A million times.
because you're not with those shows with a Zootopia, a brand new animal. You're reminded that they're animals.
Yeah, and
It,
it's like
it's
a
it's
and it's like a parody too. I would say.
it it is, but in Odd Taxi, you just feel like, how do I say this?
Yeah,
There's almost no point to them being animals,
none.
and the revelation at the end that I won't talk about kind of like proves that.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's like it's hard to explain, but it transcends the fact that they're animals
yeah, yeah.
because it's so current. It's so reflective of the society that they were living in now, especially in Japan,
Yeah, yeah.
with the idols and the fierce competition to be on the top
Yeah, yeah.
and to be
The
popular.
bureaucratic kind of like system. Even
Yeah,
America, like it's that relatable too here.
yeah,
And a main influence, of course, is Taxi Cab Confessions, Taxi Driver, Usual Suspects,
yeah.
like noir.
Dirty Pretty Things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Dirty Pretty Things, one of my all-time favorite movies too.
yeah,
Yeah, like these things that you take as ordinary are not really ordinary when you think about it.
yeah,
Especially city life, especially like the society we live in, where it's not in the cusp of dystopia, but personal wise, it kind of is there. So these vices we have, how we mirror our flaws and things like that, and how Otokawa, like how you mentioned, is my best boy. Something about him being so relatable in this mucky type of world out there.
yeah,
Yeah, because he's trying. He's the only one in that show that actually tries to get help.
yeah.
And mental health is definitely a factor nowadays, especially dealing with the times we live in now. So
Well, he's a damaged character, and they get into that, and it gets really serious.
yeah,
He has a serious, tragic backstory, and it tries to heal that.
yeah,
It tries to heal that, and you get things where they wouldn't normally focus on in anime, or if they did, they would focus it on in different ways,
yeah.
not all together in
No,
one
no,
anime.
no, no.
And you can tell that these guys, like you said, they love film.
Yeah,
They love film, and I think that this is my number one because it raises the bar for what comes after it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
this is like one of the highest debut seasons in my anime list. It's like a top 30, I believe.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun fact. I don't like to brag about this, but it's because it's the end of the year. Why not? It's our number one downloaded episode so far. A Sense of Bookworm and Odd Taxi.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
great,
so people are checking in. Yeah,
nice.
and I've been hearing good feedback online too. So, you know, it's a matter of time it doubles and triples in popularity,
Yeah.
and that's the main focus of our podcast. We have to talk about Odd Taxi.
Well, we're looking for, I think, not only things that we like,
Yeah, yeah,
which is like is going to determine what we watch, but we're also looking for quality.
yeah,
But I love that when I was making my list of tough to watch last year, because I believe Odd Taxi was a winner show.
yeah,
So when I in 2020, when I was making my list of stuff to watch, I put Odd Taxi on there.
yeah,
Nowhere in my mind did I think that would be my number one
yeah.
out of
For
2021.
me, what sold me initially was the trailer. The trailer was super simple.
Yeah.
It just have this walrus driving a taxi cab with the weird offbeat music, and you're like, all right,
For me, it wasn't the trailer so much as the synopsis.
yeah,
When they said a taxi driver gets involved in a case of a missing girl,
uh,
that was what like set off this little bell in my head, ding ding ding. Like this sounds like it might be cool.
yeah. And you generally like mystery too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like mystery,
yeah,
like It Invaded, and some other ones that I'll talk about later that I think we need to bring up in another podcast. It was the fact that I had watched Brand New Animal and I had enjoyed that. I like Zootopia, but going into it, I'm like, I wasn't a big fan of Beastars.
yeah,
That got a little too weird for me. So I didn't know what to expect from On Taxi, but it wasn't one of those shows where I was like I was excited for the second half of Jujutsu Kaisen,
yeah, yeah.
the second half of that time I got reincarnated as slime. So going into that season, I was like, this is what I'm looking
Yeah, you're
forward
looking for
to.
the standards.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
standards, and then On Taxi just stole the show.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And this is our top 10 in a nutshell because, like, even though Demon Slayer the movie, everyone loves that movie. That's a guarantee.
yeah.
But, like, I would be, stupid to say that another movie was better. Impossible. In my humble opinion, it's my favorite movie of the year.
This year, yeah.
For cinematically wise, too. And then, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, they'll always be there. But something about Super Cup, something about Odd Taxi, like one and dones, you gotta check it out because it's a matter of time where anime becomes that threshold. Like people are looking for the independent stuff, so we're almost there because we have a young crop getting into it. It's just a matter of that young crop getting into stuff we're watching. So
Well, I think any of the shows that we talked about in our top 10 list and any of the shows that we've talked about on former episodes of the podcast, this is stuff that might not be famous or remembered 10 years from now, but I think all of these shows are worth your time.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely worth watching. I think you'll enjoy them. I think they'll entertain you. And yeah, I mean, check them out.
Yeah. And well placed and said. But before we go, I wanted to ask Edwin this question because if I didn't pick the number one error I had in 2021 with our first year of the 950 Club, I would have to ask Edwin this because this was a key edit I did not include in our Komi episode. Edwin, what is your all-time favorite Komi can't communicate moment?
So they all get together for they're all at Komi's house. Dandaro and I think it's Najami. They're at Komi's house. They're playing with the snow. They're having a snow fight, I think, with some kids that Komi has met. And Dandaro, he makes a little snowman of himself.
Aw,
And he leaves it there. And everybody's going inside to warm up. And so Komi makes, and I think this was the cover for that episode.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The
because
snowman, yeah.
she makes a little snowman out of herself and she puts it next to the Tandaro
Yeah,
snowman, and there they are together. And I thought that was so cute.
yeah,
I was like, she loves him.
yeah,
She likes him. She loves him.
yeah. And
It's like she's too afraid. She can't handle those feelings and emotions. She can't. She just can't do it.
yeah,
And but she makes this little snowman of herself to put next to him. and I thought that was my favorite moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing. We had a wonderful 2021. We're hoping we're gonna have a great 2022.
And that's it. That's it for this episode. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys will check out some of our top picks for this year of
Yeah,
2021.
and check our previous episodes because a lot of our top 10 mentions were mentioned in our previous
Yeah,
episodes
there were
too.
episodes that we were either our fall roundup
Yep.
or some of the episodes that we were some of our spotlights where we liked these shows so much that we did like full episodes about
Oh
them.
yeah.
So check them out. Thank you guys for listening as always.
There's a few more shout outs. We would like to thank Tim. He does the music for all of our episodes, so thank you, Tim. Don't forget to check his Instagram, The Diabetic Journey of Tim, and also his own podcast, The Diabetic Lunchbox. You can listen to it on Spotify. And we'd like to thank the awards music for this episode, Joelle Fazere. Future shout out to the music in the last episode, too, because I couldn't find the name of the composer. Check us on our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yep, follow us,
And
like, subscribe, and share.
You name it. And thank you guys. This has been a wonderful year because of you and for Edwin, for Jamal. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jack. And that's this year's episode of the 950 Club.
Goodbye.